Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you so much for joining Once and Often. I'm Jasmine. Joining me today is a motivational speaker, a child care advocate. He is working throughout the metro Atlanta area in an attempt to reform the minds of the young. And he is just doing super, super, super duper incredible work. Thank you so much, Brother Genesis. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. It's so funny because your name is Genesis. I always feel like I have to refer to you as Brother Genesis. Like Genesis alone just doesn't work. I mean, it's the first book in the Bible. I feel like you were named after something
Oh,
biblical. I'm just like, oh, I got to say Brother Genesis.
well, most of my friends, they'll call me first book. It's
Mm.
like, hey, the first book, or they'll call me Jen. So,
Was Genesis
I
your given
actually,
name?
no, it's not my given name.
Okay, okay.
My birth given name is Demetrius Montreal Day. But
Mm.
when I was in the system and I was making my transition from a negative mind state to a positive one, I said, well, look, this is my beginning. So I obtained the name of Genesis Asiatic. So what I did was I got it done through the court. So it's in my social security, my ID is Genesis Asiatic.
So it's legally changed, and that's
Yes,
that's deep. Like you wanted to change, and this is your new beginning.
yes.
So since you brought that up, I want to talk about your old beginning. So guys, let me just explain. Brother Genesis here was recently, not recently, but 4 years ago, he was released from a 23-year sentence, prison sentence, correct? And you were sentenced to 40 something years, you said? 43 years. You served 23, you were released. But before we talk about that, let's go back to before Genesis. You said Demetrius, right? What was your earlier years like before you coming into Genesis?
What happened when I was younger, I was looking for something, not understanding what I was looking for, but years later, I realized what I was looking for. I was looking just to be liked. I was looking for likes. Like when you see how the youth right now be on social media
Yeah.
and they posting stuff, they're looking for likes. And then I realized that's what I was looking for. So the things that I was doing, I just wanted to be liked by my peers.
What?
So,
I'm sorry, go
mhm.
ahead.
So that led me to doing some things that I shouldn't have been doing.
What was it that made you feel like you were not liked?
I, I'm really not sure. I don't think I'm really not sure because I haven't really looked at that part of why I felt I needed it to be liked or I wasn't liked. I'm not sure. Um, I believe just, you know how kids are. And
Yeah.
you go to school, if you didn't have the proper shoes, anything there, I had all of those things. My grandma worked at the Navy base. So I never was in need of, clothes, shoes, anything of that nature. I just looked at how everybody else were looking at people who didn't have and people who wasn't doing certain things. So I was assuming, hey, if I didn't do this, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
liked.
What I find odd is that I spoke to Kimbo a couple of days ago, and I'm sure you know Kimbo. And guys, if I
Yes.
didn't say, I just want to make sure I point out that Brother Genesis here does work closely with the Life Unit, which is a nonprofit organization that is serious about helping those who have recently been released from prison with providing the necessary resources such as mental, housing, employment, clothing. He does work with that organization very closely to make sure that they have some of the things
Correct.
that he may not have had upon his release. But when I spoke with Kimball the other day, who's with Positive Outreach Development, and those organizations work very closely together. But Kimball mentioned that in his youth, he just wanted to be seen. He just
Mhm.
he did things because he wanted to be seen. In your case, you wanted to be liked. And it's so funny because it shows how the mind transitions. As kids, we want to be liked, we want to be seen. As adults, we don't care who doesn't like us. We don't care what anyone says about us. you know,
Right.
you wanted to be liked. And
Right.
you stated in our phone conversation that you're 50 years old, right?
Yes.
And in 50 years, you have never physically met your father.
No, I have not.
Was that an
I've
issue?
spoken to him. You said again?
Was that an issue?
No. I I think it would have been if I never would have been in prison. Prison like desensitized me to a lot of things.
Mm.
So certain things that may affect a lot of people in society, it doesn't really affect me. Like just say someone's passing. Um, and I'm gonna tell you why. When I went in prison, I ain't gonna say when you because everybody is different for everybody. So when I went in, I wanted to be out so much that it began to hurt. I wanted to go home. I wanted to be around my mom. I wanted to do things. So mentally, I had to cut the world off and just live in the inside. So when people would come around talking about anything that had to do with society, they were like, man, you don't know where I don't want to hear that. And I did it so much that I wasn't didn't realize what I actually was doing. I was running from, the pain because I
Mm.
wasn't home, or I know I wasn't going home no time soon. So I was running from it. But as it was actually happening, I wouldn't have said that. I was like, man, I ain't going home. I don't feel like hearing it. So
Yeah.
when it came down to holidays, when it came down to birthdays, all of those things, it's like I just stopped trying to celebrate them. Period. I don't want nothing to do with it.
You openly talk about, your time incarcerated. And I remember when I came to the event last week and you were speaking, actually, as a matter of fact, when I walked in, and you stated very clearly, I served a 23-year prison sentence. And you talk about some things in our phone conversation, even how you're still institutionalized, something as simple as locking the
Oh,
doors when you walk in the house.
yes. So I knew when I was still there that I was gonna bring some things home with me. And I made it clear to myself that the things I really want to take home with me, I'm gonna make a conscious decision to bring home with me. Man, there will be some things that I probably bring home with me that I may not think about at the time, which was one is locking the doors behind me. For 20 something years, I wasn't capable of shutting the doors and locking them. I probably could shut it and then just shut and this locks itself.
Right.
But when I came home, I come in the house and I just shut the door and I keep it moving. And never would think about it until my queen was like, hey, you left the door, unlocked. I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. And it never really dawned on me. I'm gonna tell you something that happened the other day, and she looked at me real weird, and I never thought about it. The elevator. We was going on the elevator, me, her, and her brother, and I just hit both of the buttons. So they look at me like, why you hit both of the buttons? Like, then I thought about like, for the elevator. I never realized that one requested to come down, the other one requested to go. I didn't know that. And I just realized that at that moment I didn't know. So a lot of things that people that have been incarcerated would never know until they're confronted with it.
Yeah. It's so crazy because those are small things,
If they are,
very small, to those of us who think like, oh, that's nothing. But to you, that was like a big thing because of your incarceration in your
right.
prison sentence.
It made me stop and look because I know a lot of things about a lot of things. So some people will say, well, all the intelligence that you have, you mean to tell me you didn't know this? Well, and then it kind of make you feel weird because you're like, should I have known this?
Right.
23 years was on the earth. Then the other 23 years was in prison. So the same amount of time I was on, from the time I was born, it's like it was a rebirth.
Yeah.
So now I don't remember really. I remember my childhood, but a lot of like learned things. Let's say, you know how if I ask you, we have a conversation and you can take me back to a time when you said, well, when I was like 23 or when I was 20,
Yeah.
I learned this. And you can tell me exactly where you was at when it happened. Like, for example, where were you at and what was you doing the time of 9/11?
I know exactly where I was almost
Right.
every day of my life.
Now
I
listen to
probably know
this.
what I was wearing and
Now,
everything.
what's weird would be is every time someone have a conversation with me and we talk about our past experiences, every time I talk, I got to keep saying prison.
Mm,
So it would make people think, why every time you have a conversation, you got to keep bringing up prison. Well, for the last couple of years, that's where I was at. Hopefully, the longer I stay out, I don't have to no longer say, hey, last year or
right.
I learned, but most of my things that I learned was there. So I pull from my experiences in there. So a lot of times it kind of make me feel like, man, people gonna be thinking that's all I'm talking about is prison. Every time we have a conversation, I'm talking about prison. But that's my experience.
That's the meat of your life, like
Right.
unfortunately, but that's where a lot of your story, a large part of
Exactly.
your story is from that experience. You
So
said you
mhm,
said at the event last week, you said when you were incarcerated, a couple of the OGs, were telling you go back to school, get your education. Why don't you read
right.
this? And you were like, I can't read. You know, you.
So
I know,
that
and I know
part,
you can read, but elaborate on that.
well, no. At the time I couldn't.
Mhm.
I now I didn't say this, but this is how what brought it to my attention. I was bored in the jail, and somebody said, "Man, just read some books." I noticed that all the guys were just reading what we call hood books. So the guy gave me the book. I always remember this book. It was called Fly Girl. I don't remember the author,
Mhm.
but the name of the book was called Fly Girl. And when I tried to read it, it was just like I could read like the and, but I couldn't get past the first page because I couldn't read it.
And so that because at some point in your teen years, did you drop out of high school?
Yeah, man, drop out. I wasn't going. Yeah, I just didn't go. School wasn't a priority for me. What was a priority for me was being like you said, the young man said, being seen and
Yeah.
wanting to be liked. If if I know that my peers liked or the young girls like certain things, I will actually begin to start doing that to be favored by them. So I'm living this facade, this person for them because all I want to be is liked.
Yeah.
I want to be the cool dude. I want to be the one everybody say, hey yo, he can fight. Hey yo, he can do this. That's what I wanted as a young person. I just felt like I needed that in my life. Just like I heard conversations with people talking about on social media. They'll say, "Oh, such and such posted something, and everybody liked his, but why they ain't like mine?" And me, I look at them like maybe they didn't see it.
Right.
You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
So, but I understand. I started understanding what was going on because that's the same thing was going on with me when I was younger. I wanted to be liked.
That's the thing.
So,
Social
mm,
media is a demon. Social media is a demon.
oh,
We
yeah,
use it. I want to be clear. We use it. I think it's resourceful, but it's also a demon. Like it controls your mind, your thoughts, even your actions. I mean, the fact that
yeah.
people post every little thing in their life just so that someone can see them and like it.
Right. And
It's a
if
demon.
and it was funny is if you're a friend of that friend or a friend that posted, sometimes they can make it personal saying, hey, you didn't see the post I post? Why you ain't like it? They were like, I ain't see it today.
Right.
We'll go out there like it right now. You forcing me to like it.
Yeah. See, right.
You're gonna force
Exactly.
me to like it.
That's why it's important to have a good, healthy relationships because my friends know I may see a post, I may like it. You don't care, I don't care. We move on. It's social media,
Right.
we don't care. Our friendship goes
Oh,
far beyond that.
see. So my brand that I brand no extra time, and I got my Be Aware and my jewelry. I post things,
Yeah.
and I don't care if you like it or not. It's because I put things out there for not just the people that I know, that people that like these type of things for that. And I got that when I was in there. Certain things while I was in prison caused me to kind of be like shell shocked or be hyper vigilant. Like when I'm out and about, I'm always doing this. I'm looking because I don't. I'm in a foreign land.
Right.
Even though I've been home 4 years, it's still foreign to me. It's still foreign to me. So prison can do a lot of things to you, and it can bring things in your life that can make you aware. It can bring things in your life that make you feel like you know you're nothing.
Yeah.
Because at one point in time, I know some people that felt like they thought it was cool that the officers talked to them and belittled them. Like, yeah, man, if I never, and they would say this, well, if I never put myself in here, then they wouldn't be talking to me like this. I said, well, brother, man, they shouldn't be talking to you like that anyway, because you're human.
Right.
They didn't get a job here so they could just talk to you crazy.
Yep.
Their job is here to make sure that you are not out of line and you're not trying to escape. They don't supposed to come in here and just belittle you and make you feel like you less than. And some officers did. And some of them didn't really like me because I made sure when I got myself together, I made sure I held my head high and I
Yep.
made sure that I had goals. I made sure that I actually took my life in my own hands
Yeah.
because what's going on in prison is this. And we got to be careful because men and women are coming home and they're not giving no one is giving them
I
the
know.
proper direction. So what you're gonna hear from a lot of I don't like calling people offenders because they don't sound right, but a lot of people that's coming home is that no one give them a direction, and what they doing is just sitting in there. And if you got to go to medical today, the officer got to tell you. So if the officer don't tell you that you have to go to medical, you know what they do? Ain't nobody tell me. Ain't nobody tell me. Sometimes the officer gotta wake you up to go to work. I said, hey, stop telling them to do that. Why? That's their job. I said, no. I said, in society, man, nobody's gonna be coming in and wake you up. You can use your alarm. I said, we got clocks. Set your alarm.
Wow.
You have to start detaching yourself because what happens is prison started to make people dependent. And
Mm.
then you ain't even paying attention. You're not paying attention that you're dependent on
Right.
them to tell you everything to do, tell you what time to go to sleep, tell you what time to go to eat. Like one thing, if you see people from incarcerated, they eat fast because some institutions will tell you once you're apart or you're living everybody in the same living area, go to eat. Once the last person sit down, the first person need to be getting up and getting up out of there. That's how they carry some places. So if you're not careful, you see people eating fast. You see people doing things out the norm that when you come in society, it's not conducive. That behavior is not conducive here. So in prison, if you're not if you're not mindful that hey, what I'm doing now is not gonna be conducive to me when I get into society, then you're gonna come out here and you're not gonna know how to function
Yep. Yep.
like a person that's been in the military all their life.
You're going to be completely dependent on someone to tell you when to wake up, when it's time to get dressed, and all of those things. And you broke away from that at some point because you realized and you saw quickly, like, okay, this is, I'm too dependent on everyone in here. So you broke yourself off from that.
Right. Because I'm gonna tell you when I started seeing, like it started making me feel some type of way to see individuals keep saying, ain't nobody tell me this. Ain't nobody tell me that. I'm like, what you mean ain't nobody tell you? You could just like, okay, in some institutions they have what they call a master pass list. On the master pass list, it tells you where everybody is going that day. The officer knows it. So sometimes the officer will say, "Hey, at 9:30 is doctor's list," and they'll call out everybody's name. So what I would do early in the morning time is this: as soon as I get up, get myself ready, I go to the booth. I say, "Can I see the master pass list?" They give it to me. I look for my name. I got to go here, 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 and I write it down. And the officer said, "Why you do that?" I said, this is, I said, this is my way of taking charge of my life in
Yeah.
here."
Yeah.
And it's like, what? I said, yeah. I said, you don't have to tell me where to go and where to be. I said, because when I get in society, there's nobody going to tell me, hey, you got to go to work at 9:30, and
Mhm.
after work, you got to go here at 3 o'clock. No,
Right.
that's what you really do with kids. So what you're doing to us in here is make it, and because you keep doing it over the years, you're gonna produce a person that's gonna be dependent.
Yeah. A complete
And
empty.
a lot of times, you just get in the system. You don't you're gonna accept that because you're thinking, I can't just do whatever I want to do in here. They have to tell me what to do.
Mm.
So it took me years to realize that I can take some initiative in doing some of the things I can do for myself. Like I can't walk out the front gate. I knew that. But I did take the initiative to know where I needed to be throughout that day.
Yeah.
And I had to bring that to guys' attention in there. I said, hey, do you see what you're doing?
Hmm.
I said, so if I was you, I would get up in the morning time and I would go get the master pass list and I would take these things into your own hands. Because if not, what's going to eventually happen is you're not gonna be able to function right because what you're going to be doing is keep depending on them to give you things and to tell you what to do. And in society, nobody ain't gonna be doing that. Not no grown man.
Right. Did you ever feel like I'm gonna die in here? When you heard,
Oh my, whew, well, you hit a deep one here. Cause I actually did. But I ain't gonna say I died. My heart stopped. So yeah,
I
she's
need
like, no,
that.
that you
Let's
died.
get into it. What happened? What?
So I discovered that I had sarcoidosis of the heart when I was in there. The story, what was going on was I was working out, and I think I wanted to get a job in the kitchen, and I had to do like a physical. So they called me back down to medical and said, "Hey, we got to put you in reverse isolation." I said, "For what?" They said, your white blood cell level is real low and we really don't know what's going on and we got to keep you away from people because if you catch a cold, you can't fight it off. I'm like, so, me younger, I'm like, what you mean? Look at my muscles. Look at my abs color. She said, Genesis, muscles can't save you from any diseases. That's eternal. Like, I'm like, man, look. She said, it ain't got nothing to do with that. So they kept me in isolation for like 8 months. It's basically I was in a hole.
Wait, due to your medical condition, you had to be
Right.
what?
Right. So what they did was because I kept complaining, like, I said the hole is for punishment. I said, so I feel like I'm being punished. So I used to write it up when I started learning how to read and write because one of the things that really helped me along, a couple of guys that was older, they were 5 percenters, like Nation of Gods and Earth.
Of course.
And they the ones was kind of educating me, and through them and through their teachings I began to learn how to read, and that went to school as well. So I started writing complaints about it. So they moved me from the hole to the infirmary, and it still kept me isolated though. I couldn't be around nobody. So going back and forth to the doctors, the hospital, they didn't know what's going on, so they had to do like a biopsy took a piece of my lung, put up on the microscope. Then that's when they told me I had sarcoidosis. But it took 2 years down the line for me to start having some effect on my heart
Mm.
to realize I had sarcoidosis of the heart because I'm working out and I'm on a bench, and when I get up, I do like this. So I'm thinking that just the workout was
Right.
strenuous until my heart start beating like excessively fast. So my workout partner, I'm like, hey man, look man, my heart, feel my heart. He said, what you doing? I'm like, man, I don't. It's just beating fast. I don't know why. So he said, let's go to medical. So I go down medical, and I make sure that everybody that's in the prison, especially officers, I'm a likable person. I talk, communicate, and at this time they see that hey, this person is trying to make a transition with his life. So when I get down there to the medical, the nurses, they cracking jokes because that's what I do when I get there. I joke. I, hey, I tell them something wrong with my chest. I'm like, what's wrong with your chest? And it's swollen. I do all this. So they joking with me. I said, no, I'm
Right.
serious. I said, something wrong with my heart. So they joking. I'm like, no, I'm serious. So they
Wow.
put the thing on my hand, and the nurse is like, yo, stop that. I'm like, I'm not doing nothing. She said, this ain't right. So they gave me an EKG. The EKG going crazy, it's making noise. Now what they look like is scaring me. And she said, Genesis, you're having multiple heart attacks right now. Multiple heart attacks. I'm like, what? She said, yes, we got to get you to the hospital today. So I'm like, I'm trying not to breathe. I I want to skip this part because it's funny, but it's not funny. And I'm gonna just briefly touch on it. When the paramedic got to me, one of the paramedics was trying to keep me calm, but he passed out on top of me because he had a heart attack on top of me. So
What?
yeah, so they had to call another EMT to come out there to get him. And that gentleman, he actually died some days later because I seen his partner, and I was like, "Hey, whatever happened to you?" He said, "Yeah, but they found him in the house. He was he deceased." So
Mm.
I was having these issues with my heart, and they didn't know what was going on, and I got a defibrillator because of it. And having medical issues in prison is the worst.
Wow. That,
When I'm the worst because I'm gonna tell you this: they don't know if you telling the truth or not.
yeah.
They don't know that. They, you could be you could be lying so you can just go to the hospital so you can see women. You just want to get outside the prison. So they don't know if you're serious or not. The hospital was giving me medication. When I get back to the institution saying, hey, we don't have to give you that medication. I'm like, what? So now look, there's a thing. Listen, there's a thing. I had to research it now that the prison do not have to um, receive instructions from the hospital. They don't have to.
Oh my God.
They don't have to. They're not held to that. They don't have to.
So then what is the alternative? What is the other choice? Just let you die?
So I don't think that's not on their mind. But I can't say what's on a person's mind. But um, what happens is this: it's up to the institutional doctor. I went to a doctor one time. He looked at me and said, "Oh, you need a new heart," and just walked out. I'm
What?
like, what do I do with that?
Did, Genesis, did you ever have any, like as a child, were you not diagnosed with this condition like earlier?
No,
No?
no.
So this all
See,
happened in adulthood.
right. But the medical in there, you have to have people with caring hearts.
Right.
Yes, there's guys in there that do things that will probably irritate the heck out you. Um, t- as listen, as a
Oh
male,
God.
some of the things I seen guys do in there, I know like when women come through, it don't make them feel good.
Mm.
One nurse, and I heard her out. I felt she was wrong, but I heard her out. She said the guy, his name was Mike, and Mike is in the middle of the part throwing up dark blood. At the time, we didn't know what it was. We would just know it was just a dark liquid
Mm.
in the pod. And they called in the nurse, and the nurse says, "This is exactly what she said. I'm not going up there. All they want to see is my ass." I'm like, this man throwing up blood. What are you talking about?
But you work in a male prison
Yes.
facility. So,
And
I
and
mean,
you coming through with the tightest pants on that you can ever have on. You're coming through like that. So I know you know what you look like before you came to work.
exactly,
Because you
because
were looking at me.
what straight
So
man
you
don't like
knew
a
this.
booty? So now, Genesis, when you talk about your prison experience, take me back, because this is just crazy. Take me back to what led up to this, whatever you can share surrounding the reason why you were incarcerated, because
Okay.
you feel like you probably should have done a prison sentence, right? Based on,
Oh yes, most definitely I should have. Most
uh
definitely I should have.
what can you share about your involvement in the crime that
All
was
right.
committed?
I'm very victim sensitive because I don't I know that there's no such thing as a victimless crime. There was a situation going on between my co-defendant and some other guys where there was, things going back and forth and they were shooting. And what I did was I shot into a house, which with some kids and people in there, resulting in someone losing their life. And I own that. I own that. People say, well, you didn't know nobody was in there. Yeah, man, but to be honest with you, with the mentality I had, it showed I didn't even care.
I was going to say it didn't matter, did it?
Yeah, it didn't matter because I actually learned some things about that because people were trying to say, hey man, because you didn't know nobody, you didn't know, you should go ahead and research it. And the reality is it's called transferred intent. So
Mm.
if you're doing anything with the intentions of hurting somebody and you don't hurt that person and someone else get hurt, the intent is transferred to them. So I had to stop saying, let me try to get out of this and say, hey, I shouldn't have never done what I did. I'm owning this. I'm gonna do this time. And when I got to that point, I didn't care when I was getting out. What cared to me, what started caring to me is the type of person I was gonna be when I was released.
Mm.
That's the that's what mattered to me the most. When like my last 6 years of my incarceration, what mattered to me the most is the type of person I wanted to be when I was released. It didn't
Genesis,
matter. Like they could have cut the phones off. They could paint the walls black. I didn't care. You
Genesis is not Demetrius. Is that
no, no. It's two separate things. It,
yep.
it's like it's two different mentalities. Everybody that knew me when I was younger, even my friends, family, said it like somebody took the person that we knew out of there and put somebody else in. Because you never thought this way, you never expressed yourself this way. Um, I just I just realized I had to be better. I had to be my mom recently, and I seen it too when I went to Virginia recently. She was crying. I was on the phone like, yo, what's wrong? She said, like, who you are today, I'm proud. She said, you ain't never gotta be a millionaire. You ain't never gotta be. She said, you being who you are right now makes me proud. And that, that started bringing a tear to my eyes because, you know, I always felt like, well, I'm gonna come home, I'm gonna make my mom proud by doing something for her, and not realizing me changing my life did something for her.
What does that do for you, knowing that you made your mom proud?
Um, it, it's a wonderful feeling. It's a one, but I try to keep myself humble with that because then again, someone life was lost in the process of this, and the family was destroyed. So just because I got myself together,
Mm,
and some people say, "Oh, they got to get over it." I'm not gonna never say that.
yeah,
They don't never have to get over that. I mean,
yeah.
you
Thank you for
can't
that.
tell
Thank you for
somebody to
saying
get
that.
over that,
Yeah. Thank you
and
for
I never
saying that.
will. You cannot tell nobody that.
Nope. Nope.
I would never say that. That's just like telling somebody who's been through something, a traumatic experience, and say, "Hey, it's been 10 years ago. You
Right.
need to get over that."
Right.
No,
I can't stand those type of people. I can't
no,
stand them. It's always, you know what I find crazy about that is that you feel like things should be done in your time. You can't
right,
tell a person how long it takes to heal. Like you can't, oh, that happened so long ago. It doesn't matter. It
right,
affected someone, and whether it affected them mentally, emotionally, physically, or what have you, it affected someone, and whatever time
yes,
it takes for them to heal. So when you start this jargon of, oh, you should be over that by now, I can't stand those types of people. So thank you for saying that because you know that is probably going to be a lifelong experience to their healing.
right, right.
How old were you when this act was committed?
22,
22. Mm.
22.
And then you were incarcerated the following year.
Yes.
Mm.
Well, it happened December the 28th of 96, and February the 12th, I was incarcerated.
Wow.
Right.
So they wasted no time. And then this is
Right.
Virginia, Commonwealth
Yes.
State. So yeah, that can be expected.
So one of the old heads told me, Genesis, when I first came in and said, no boys, you know what that is. He said, don't mess with them boys, don't talk to them. And there was a reason why I learned why he said this years later. He said, don't give nobody anything. And no gambling. He said, no gambling. You're gonna be good. As long as you stay away from that, you're gonna be good. And I actually seen why he said that to me. Um, the guy used to sit at the table with me and we go to chow. I don't eat bananas. So I was giving this guy my bananas. Sit down one day. He come to my table. He reaches on my plate and grabs the banana. I said, "What you doing?" I said, "You ain't gonna eat it." I said, "But you're not gonna ask." He said, "What for? You're not gonna eat it." I said, "Bro, you just can't go on my plate and just take something."
Right.
He said, "I don't see no problem with it because you ain't gonna eat it, and you've been giving it to me." Right then is when it hit me. He said, because he said it like this. He said, "Don't give it to him." He said, because they're gonna think that they're gonna keep expecting. What was real to me is when I seen. I went back to the jail. I forgot what I had to go. When I had got shot, and they wanted me to come back to the jail to testify on the young man that shot me, which I didn't. And I think he only got like 2 years because he said it was self defense. But when I'm coming through the jail and I look at the guys that was behind the gates, oh man, it was like it made me feel weird because I'm like, why did I feel that I was looking at monkeys in a cage?
Mm.
And I'm like, yo, I'm looking, and I'm like, that's how they see us.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
So that's how you look. I'm
Yep.
like, it looked like you got a bunch of monkeys or animals in a cage, yelling, running around. So if an officer come through here, and that's what they constantly keep seeing. Maybe that's why they're treating us this way.
Wow. And let's talk about that for a second because the gentleman who shot you were shot 6 times by this young man?
Yes,
6 times.
yes.
What was that story?
Oh, well, what was going on was the young man had a problem with a friend of mine earlier that day. And that my friend, he was looking for him, but he couldn't catch up with him. And we was walking to the store and he was talking. I can't even remember the conversation, but he's walking with his head down. He's just talking, 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 talking. And I see somebody on the bicycle riding. And I'm watching the whole time, just looking at him. I don't say anything because I'm not thinking that this is the person that you had a problem with
Hmm.
earlier. So when I see the boy jump off the bike, he said, "Got you." And that's all I seen. I seen the sparks first, and it was like spark, pow, spark, pow, spark, pow. That's all I. And then when I seen him, like he turning towards me, I'm trying to trying to hit it, but I'm getting hit. And my friend, he was like, "Oh," that's all I heard. So he's trying to go in his pants to grab his piece, but I don't know if he ran behind me or I went in front of him, but we were side by side. But for some reason, it's like I was in front of him and he just was behind me. They said he ran to the corner and that's when he passed at the corner. And a younger gentleman who I actually seen come to prison. He was 11 years old at the time. And he said, "Come on, man, get up. I'm gonna help you get to the store." And he helped me get to the store. That same young man, I actually seen years later in the prison where I was at. And it shocked me because when he said, "Hey, man," because Demetrius was my name, but they used to call me Meat. He
Hmm.
said, "Meat, it's me, Lil Purnell." And I knew exactly what he was saying, but I'm trying to make the association with Lil Purnell and
Right.
this grown man I see right now. And I'm like, I said, "Man, I gotta go in my cell, man." Cause in my mind, I'm like, I done been in here so long, Purnell done became a grown man. And
Wow.
then he ain't here with me.
Oh my God. There's so much that can be said about that incident alone because you watched your best friend die.
Well, I didn't watch him, but
But
I
that
watched him
incident,
get
from that
shot.
incident, he died.
Right.
And then a young man who tried to help get you some medical care, you later see incarcerated where
Yes.
you are.
Yes.
It just seems like, and I mean, we know this already, but it's a cycle, and you just start to become a product of your environment because here he is, a young man who was helping you when he was just 11 years old. Now here you are behind walls with the man whose life I helped save.
Right. With Purnell, man, that was his name, Lil P Purnell. Um, I I used to tell people about this young man all the time. When I met him, he was like 10 years old. Um, we shouldn't have had this little boy doing some of the things we had him doing. Um, Drinking. I mean, one day, I come into the room, he was rolling the blunt. I think he was about 12 years old. He was rolling the blunt. I said, "What you doing?" "Man, I paid for it." And it's kind of we chuckled at it,
Wow.
but that look back at it, we got this 12-year-old boy. He just rolling up drugs with us,
Right. Right.
trying to drive, and we trying to get scrippers for him and everything at 12 years old. Like the things we was thinking then that was cool. I look back and said, "Man, we were dead wrong." So when he was doing some things in there that I wasn't really an approve of. He was in a gang at this time. So I pulled him to the side, COP. I said, "Man, we from the same neighborhood, man. I know I'm a little older than you." I said, "But Some of the things you're doing, bro, you gotta stop. And this is what he said to me. He said, man, y'all made me this way. It was nothing I could, it was nothing I could say.
Wait, hold on. Give me a second. I want us to sit in that just for a second because there was nothing you could say. So here you are, you're in the neighborhood. Now you're trying to tell him you somewhat in a way was involved in his life decisions, right? Now those decisions caused him to be in the same place where you are. And now you're telling him, hey, you don't want to do this. And now he's saying, but you're part of the reason why I'm like this. You're part of the
Right.
reason why and you have nothing to say. But that made you feel like what? I would feel like crap.
I did, but I had a response. My response was because it took me a second because it was like it was like a Mike Tyson punch. Boom.
Yep.
Like, oh, he right. I said, but P, I said, you right. But if we had influence on you to be this way, then allow me to make you a different way.
Our phone conversation, I said, there's no way to get to them. And your response was, well, you certainly can't because I didn't walk their path. You walk their path, so you can probably get to them. But is
Right.
that really easy or does that really take a lot of work?
Where it's like what you don't never know how deep somebody is into their mess.
Yeah.
So it may be easy to get Tony out of it, but it might be a little harder to get little Wheezy or little Jesse out of it because they're a little bit deeper. But what
Mm,
has to happen is it's all like I was talking about at the the wake up. What we tend to do with people is we try to take them from one extreme to the next. You can't do that with them.
yeah.
It has to be a gradual process. So we in this microwave age right now where we think that somebody have to do it right now,
Hmm.
right now. We
Yeah.
don't think that people can make mistakes or make false starts, or we don't believe people should be able to make um, wrong decisions. That's a part of life.
Yeah.
That's a part of learning.
Yeah.
Um, no one wants to see their child make a bad decision.
Were you affiliated with a gang when you were younger?
No,
No. So but you know that these young men are gang affiliated.
right.
It just seems like that's such a hard trap to come out of.
It can be because when you when it's almost like this. I'm gonna give you an analogy. It's almost like a eating disorder. It's
Mm,
almost like a relationship.
mm,
When you get in a relationship with somebody, you've been there with them so long, you just don't get up and say, oh well, I guess we ain't doing this no more and just walk away.
right.
You try to find a way out and you try to do it until it gets to the point where you say, I can't take it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it is with them. They see that it's not right, but they stay because they say, well, maybe I can make it right.
Mm, yeah.
So I tell a young dude this. Um, he's like, man, ain't nobody trying to help nobody out here. I said,
Mm,
bro, you get help every day. You ain't even realizing it. What
yeah.
you mean? Ain't nobody helping me. So I asked him, I said, can you define help for me? He's like, help is help. What you mean? I said, can you define what help is? You said that you need help. Then what is it?
Right.
So he gave me, he's like, help is what basically, just doing something for me. I said, doing everything for you or doing something for you? He said, no, do it all. Oh, that's not help. That's what tell you what made me so proud today. I go to QT. Gentleman behind there making sandwiches. He's talking to other two young men. So they're talking about football. But his conversation was so, let's say, uplifting. He was just talking about football though.
Hmm.
And he was greeting people. And I'm listening to him. I said, man, champ, man, you got a beautiful soul, man. He said, thanks, man. So how old are you? He said, 26. I'm like, 26? So what do you do outside of this? So I go to school. He said, he taking up data analysis. I said, why do you want to work here? He said, it's helping me to become a better leader. So I
Mm.
said, man, I said, that's awesome, man. He said, yeah, I'm about to get my master's degree, man. I said, you like working here? He said, yeah, I'm building relationships with people. With a smile on his face, this was the individual that know that he has to work hard to go ahead and get it. He's not waiting for no one to just say,
Exactly.
here.
Yep.
He knew this.
Yep.
So I said, listen, I'm 50. I said, I got to give you this. Please take this with you. I said, people don't care how much you know until they know how
Mm-hmm.
much you care. I said,
Mm-hmm.
that's not my quote,
Right.
but the reason why I give it to people because there's a lot of people with knowledge and information that they feel that people are supposed to listen to them because they know, but
That
they
is.
don't care. If you're talking to the youth and they don't see that you care,
Yep.
they're not listening to you.
Yep.
You're gonna sit here and throw all your background, the beautiful words and the good, the elegant words, but then when they realize that you
Yep.
don't care,
Yep.
then they don't care about what you have to say to them
Right.
because they realize, hey, this person don't know where we come from, they ain't understanding me. But when they look and they see someone going through some other things, they'll listen to them. So the goal is to actually you have to extract them out of
Exactly.
that environment,
Yep.
physically and mentally. And what's so hard
These
about doing it
conversations get
is
deep.
they not realizing what they're doing to themselves by listening to music that
Right.
encourages it. Like I can listen to some music now, and they can be talking about the same thing, but I look at it as entertainment. Now I don't know. I know as a young man how me and my friends used to respond. But did you ever look at wrestling?
Oh yeah.
So after watching WrestleMania, what most of us do after watching it, we want to go out there outside and try the moves on each other. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
So if imagine if we're doing that with wrestling, what do you think we're doing when we listening to this music?
Right.
Or man, I'm gonna tell you this. Just think about it. What we're seeing from the younger generation, if you ever watch these guys or the youth play the video games, Call of Duty,
Yep.
or uh, this is what you're seeing.
Yep. Yep.
This is what you're seeing. They
Grand
came
Theft
out of the
Auto.
video games and they're doing this in real time. You couldn't have told me years ago that the music that I was listening to could influence me to do something that wasn't right.
Yep. Yeah.
But listen to this. Mobb Deep, Hell on Earth, that was
Mm-hmm.
on that album. And right before it was called Godfather Part 3. That's the name of the song. And before I did what I was doing, I was listening to that. If you can look that up and just play just that beginning, that's what it's about to go sound like.
Are you serious?
Yes, ma'am.
So, so with you saying that, was there was no motivation behind what you did? You were just kind of like, we about to go do this. There was no cause, no anger, no issues, no.
Well, I mean, it would, but the anger had been for months down because we was going back and forth with this thing. So it was already there. And I'm in the car with him. He had just recently had got shot. And so it's like, okay, you just got hit. It's time to go do that. So yeah, but we was in a car listening to the song Godfather Part 3, and when I came back to the car, the song was playing, and I never forgot it.
Genesis, on that note, you shared a lot. Thank you for being so transparent because somebody's going to hear this and get something from it. And my goal is that somebody will hear this and watch this and play it for their child. And like, before you do this, listen to what he went through because you haven't even touched the surface of everything that you've seen. The trauma is there.
It really is, and I'm because being around Chris, me and Chris had conversations, and I I started I do a kind of analysis on myself
Yeah.
constantly. Like another thing, I'm so because like somebody can ask me to do something. I'm so one track minded because I'm not used to have to go all over the places. It's like just do this and that's it. Just do this and that's it.
Right.
In society, it's like this. So I might get one, two right, but I got three, four, five, six wrong.
Mm, yeah.
And when I recognize, I'm like, well, I gotta get used to doing this the right way. But
Mm,
I'm patient with myself.
yeah. Yeah.
Some other people may not be patient. Like
Yeah.
when I went to the grocery store and I try to do the self checkout and I'm understanding like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna tell you what I did. I left the stuff and walk away.
Did you really?
I leave it and walks away and look back at it like I hope somebody get it. Cause I'm I'm thinking
Oh.
that people so frustrated with me not knowing what I'm doing. But they don't know why I don't know what I'm doing. So what I started telling people was, hey, look, I did a lot of time and this is new to me. Can you show me? And
Oh.
they'll laugh like, for real? You don't know? I said, no. And they be like, well, they'll ask me questions. I'm like, I never seen it before. And I'm just being honest, I don't know what I'm doing over here.
Right. And it's not to laugh, but when you think about when you were incarcerated in 96, self checkout wasn't a thing.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that
It's,
wasn't a
it's, it's
thing.
a So this is what I do with people now. I actually forewarn you, hey, look, I did some time, and I make it like a joke. I did a lot of
Right.
time, and technology we didn't have in there.
Right.
So can you help me do this? And they'll laugh. And, oh, I got an uncle, or I got a cousin that did time, but I'm okay with not knowing and asking for help.
Right.
But
Exactly.
think of, think about the people who who don't want to feel a certain way. Like I went to the probation and parole office, and the lady gave him a piece of paper said scan. He said, "Ma'am, I did 20 some years.
Right.
Scan what? How?"
Right.
He don't know nothing about scanning with the phone and QR code. He don't know what a QR code is. So I see his frustration. So I jump up to help. Hey, look, champ. Hey, look, out here
Right.
now. And I said, I did 23. I ain't know it either. But look, you take your phone, put it on it, and put the thing on top of it. When he hit it and looked, he was like, a video playing? Man, it looked like a little kid in the face. I said, yeah. I said, yeah, man. There's a lot of stuff out here we ain't know. But this
Oh,
is what needs to be learned in there before it come out.
exactly. So to make that release a smooth transition, because you're coming out, the world has changed in over 20 years.
Right.
When you get out, there's self checkout. They need to put that stuff so that those of us who don't know, when we see Genesis in the store, what Genesis' life experience was like, can have a little bit more patience and show a little bit more empathy. Because if we don't
Right.
know, and I know I'm good for it, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Have you never seen self checkout before? Like, what are you doing? Oh my God. You know
That's
what?
how,
Let's go to that's me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, oh my God. But the truth
man.
is, maybe you haven't. Brother Genesis. The takeaways, there's always a takeaway. The takeaways in these moments. And I think the takeaways are always more for me when I listen to you all than it is for you, because the takeaways are always like, oh shoot, I realized things about myself that I probably would not have realized, had we not had this conversation.
People can check me out at No Extra Time, or you can check me out at Asiatic Greetings.
And on Instagram, are you _Asiatic Drip?
Yeah, Asiatic Drip as well. That's what I sell my my jewelry.
Gotcha. I want to make sure I have it all, because I want people to know how they can support, how they can keep up with you, how they can get involved, and all of that good stuff. Because, when they say it takes a village, it really does take a village.
With
It
that
takes
being
work.
said, hey, look, this is what I learned. People become impatient with my patience.
Right. All right, Genesis, I'm going to let you go, but I'm so thankful.
All right.